Hello and welcome to Where the Living Room Used to Be, a podcast about Rhode Island's music scene. All right, we've got John here for RI5. What is or was your favorite Rhode Island record store?
Definitely Sam's Records, Tapes, and Stuff. I mean, that was the place that I discovered when I first started, kind of really looking out, and besides Columbia House Records, right? That was like the first place when I could hop in a car and go somewhere, that we went to, and mostly because it was the place to get heavy metal in 1982. Mm-hmm. And, they had all that rare stuff you couldn't find anywhere else. And, all the imports and things like that. And it was just, that was the place, man. We couldn't wait to hop in a car and, get there with $30 we made from our job the week before. And, hopefully we could buy 2 or 3 cassettes with it and, make a collection, so that was definitely the spot, man.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about that shop? I mean, I've definitely heard of it, but what was the overall experience like? Was it a big spot, or was it?
No, really tiny place. It was buried in this little plaza with a Dunkin' Donuts and everything. It was a little bit of a drive, and it was a small place, humble little place. And I don't think it was any different than, back then anyway, than any other record store. You walked in and all that vinyl was out, and you had to, flip through the records to look for what you wanted. And then, cassettes were becoming a big deal back then, and so they had that whole wall, behind the plastic, behind the glass doors, and you could just walk up and down that and look at all the, the labels, right. And the titles. But
did they specialize in metal, or how much?
It just so happened that the main guys that owned the store, who essentially worked there all the time, were just big. They just were really into metal. They were like big metal heads, and they had other stuff there. But they definitely became the spot for it. And at the time, they were selling stuff, and even domestically. I mean, they were just selling records that you couldn't just walk into Strawberries and get. Or someplace like that. Even back then, I mean, there's always politics and everything. I mean, you couldn't get your little heavy metal band into Strawberries, into one of those places. They bought very specific stuff, and they certainly didn't want to offend anybody. Even back then they would, cautious about what they would put on their shelves to sell people. And, so that was the place. That was the place you knew you could go to, and just, they didn't care and you didn't care. And, you just, you were going to go find stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. What is your favorite Rhode Island drink?
It's funny because I was, looking at what you wrote down for examples, and I kind of sort of was like, I really do like coffee milk. It's that's definitely probably my thing. If I was to say there was a specific drink from Rhode Island, it's a big deal.
But do you make it at home, or is it usually that's kind of tied with a New York system,
I mean that the autocrat syrup, man, right? I mean that's a Rhode Island, that's a Rhode Island company.
Yeah, Lincoln, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you always got a bottle of syrup in the house.
Yeah.
Coffee milk,
Yeah.
But and I was meandering, through that question a little bit too. And, I think as far as, local beer coming to mind, I love what Sean's doing over at Revival, and, he makes some really great stuff. And, I'm certainly a big fan of his and what he's doing, his products are awesome,
Yeah. Are there any cool things at Askew or anything like that you'd want to shout out though, or Alchemy or anything like that? Like when people could come down, is there a drink that they should try?
Windsong is, does a really great job with, making those little cocktail menus and, all that stuff. And, they've been horsing around with, making all these different kind of martinis, and they can. Winsong's teaching everybody how to like draw the initials with the syrup on the top, and all
cool.
that stuff. Yeah, so I mean, we're starting to try to, make that a little bit of a thing. We got that massages and martinis thing that we do on Fridays. When we were doing when it was legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an after
be around other people,
yeah, exactly. So it was an after work idea, for the people getting out of work downtown, and on a Friday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, start around 4, and that's what it was. So you had a whole martini menu, and then we had a licensed masseuse, set up in the corner with a chair, kind of like you see at the airport.
Yep.
And you could get chair massages for $1 a minute, and go sip on a martini. So,
wow.
Yeah. That was becoming
that's cool.
A fun thing. Yeah, it was pretty cool for sure.
Nice. What is your favorite place in Rhode Island?
Well, I have to say that unfortunately, I'm going to be a little bit biased about this, but I predominantly spend most of my time in the venues, right? So
yeah.
They're not mine. I'm going to somebody else's show.
Yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, I love Dusk. I love the Parlor, Nicotese is great. If you're putting music on stage, I'm generally going to try to pop by if I can. As far as a place, just to stop in and have a beer or something like that. I mean, the Scurvy's always great. Dog, Watt Chair is awesome, and then, we got some friends, outside the music scene, that we like to hang out with over in Riverside. We go to a place called Stevie D's every once in a while out there. That's a lot of fun too. So
nice.
Yeah, those as far as Wendy and I are kind of we're like dive bar kind of folks. So we're not really looking to do anything too crazy. Give us a halfway decent bar to sit in with some friends, and we'll be thrilled. Although I must say I've grown very fond of free play. Because I'm such a pinball nut,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm addicted to it.
Oh, okay.
And it's a great play. I mean, the thing that a lot of people don't realize about free play is it's a barcade, right? So you don't necessarily have to go in there and play games if you don't want to. They actually have a pretty cool little bar scene there. Where you just, sit with your friends and chill out and have some beers. And, trust me, there's some nights I go in there and next thing I know, it's almost time to go. And I haven't even played a game yet because I got talking to somebody. So,
yeah.
But, so that's really become a fun place too. And the people that own it and run it are fabulous. So, we've really kind of become fast friends with them. And it's right down the street. So it's awesome. Close up at Askew, walk over there,
Yeah. What is your favorite Rhode Island pizza?
Well, it's funny, too, with that, because, I was raised in a very Italian family. So, I tend to, gravitate to, the more traditional Italian, type places, at one time. I mean, at one time, what was better than Caserta? I mean, I don't know. I know it's a lot of people have different opinions about it now. It's changed hands a bunch of times, but back in the day, that was a pretty amazing place. There used to be a place over on Chalksville Avenue called Tommy's.
Yeah,
that made a great pizza. It's still good, decent pizza now, but I mean, back when the family was running it, boy, that was a great pizza. My current pizzas, there's a place up on the hill called Napolitano's.
Okay.
They make a really, really awesome pizza. And, occasionally, just to have like a quality, just quality food, you get like a little fancy pizza somewhere that, might be a little less non-traditional Italian. I like going to Coal Fire.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Coal Fire makes some, some great pizzas over there. And then you can't replace the bakery pizza, right? I mean,
strips,
it's a completely different beast, but what's better than a box of Di Petrillo's, bakery pizza. It's
Yeah.
a lot of people just count that as not pizza. That's not pizza. It's like, I'm telling you, it's pizza, man. It's like eating potato chips. I can't stop eating that stuff.
Yeah. Last question for you, John. What is your favorite event that's taken place in Rhode
Island? Anything I do is any events that I throw are my favorites.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, I think being so busy in this this industry, I don't get as much opportunity to go out and do other things.
Yeah.
As I would like sometimes. So, I really am a bad person to ask that, because it's in a kidding way. I mean, think about it. I got a show on almost every night, and then, like I said, if I have an opportunity to sneak out, I'm probably going to somebody else's show, so I don't get a chance to do too many, like eventy kind of things, that everybody's always telling me, man, I go to this fest and I this, that, and, and I live vicariously to everybody else. But, the two things that came to mind, and they're both in the same town, actually, I think Warren over the last couple of years has really done a really cool job with, some of the things that they've started to do to kind of bring interest into their little town.
Yep.
And the first thing that came to mind was that Warren Folks Fest, they call it.
Yep.
Folks with an S. That's like a cool little local band, little show that they do, and that walkabout. I think that's what they call it, right? The walkabout thing where you every corner there's another guy, on the sidewalk singing a song. I know Sasquatch has had a lot to do with, organizing that and helping out with it.
Galactic Theater. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, that's great. What he's doing out there and, and what the town's doing to try to do, stuff like that to, bring in interest as, and for some reason I think because they happen in the summer at a time when I'm a little slower, I managed to get to those every year. Those tend to be,
that's cool.
Kind of a thing, and I'm really involved with a couple of those like rockabilly, hot rod weekenders that happen, but most of those are in Mass. Not really Rhode Island things, But, those are always a blast. I try to get to those when I can,
But I guess even just for me, I'm curious as to looking back at your career of shows that you've booked. Is there one or a couple that stand out, like a certain band that you like can't believe you booked, and then you see them on your stage and you're like, holy shit? Or is there other events, bigger events that you put together over time?
Yeah, I think I always think back at some of the earliest stuff I did, because now it's like history now, right? At the time when you do it, you might not realize again exactly what you're doing. You're doing a show, and sometimes it doesn't seem as big as it ends up turning out to be. But I always tell the story about when I brought Sepultura into the living room. It was their first time in America touring in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I had the honor of being able to do that, first, Wow. And that show almost didn't happen. That show came dangerously close to getting canceled because of bad weather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And but we ended up pulling that off, and it was a sold out show, and people still talk about it every once in a while. The flyers circulating around on Facebook, And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Look at that, man. I still got it, But
totally.
So that always sticks. That always sticks in my mind as one of my proudest moments, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Dave Lombardo, the drummer from Slayer, had his own project for a little while called Film.
Okay.
And we were able to do that at Firehouse 13, You know, I mean, you know, Dave Lombardo from Slayer is playing drums on House 13, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I heard he's pretty good. You know.
Yeah, it was really something. And, you know, and it's always great when you get to meet those kind of guys, and they're just real, you know, really nice, down to earth people. It makes things, you know, so much better. You know.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, those are definitely some highlights. I mean, you know,
cool.
Club Hell had a bunch of them that were really cool. I mean, you know, Jack had a lot to do with, you know, what those shows were. You know, I mean, I got to host them. I got to be the host club, you know, and do most of the work around them. But, you know, having Dinosaur Jr. there was pretty wild. That one for me was a big one. You know, we only had shows there for a short time, but that was cool. You know, that was a fun little time. You know, it was an important time for me because it kind of got me back into it. You know, it sort of kind of re-inspired me to say, you know what, if I'm going to stay in this racket, I think I'm going to walk away from the nightclub stuff for a while and get back into bands, you know?
Yeah. Well, John, thank you again. This has been really cool to talk to you about this stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, this has been, you know, a fun couple of Mondays with you. And I mean, it's the whole thing's fantastic. I love what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
So keep it going, baby. Keep it going.
Yeah. Thanks again for listening. As you just heard, John spoke about how Club Hell helped to reinvigorate his passion to book shows. So what I have for you next is a couple of live songs from Verse, which were recorded at their 5th anniversary show at Club Hell back in 2008. Verse is one of my favorite bands of all time, and I think this recording, though, you know, cleaned up a bit but not perfect, really does display the power of this band. And you know, just want to thank John for giving them a place to play on this particular night. Hope you enjoy.
This is one of the first songs we ever wrote. Shit!